Sri Lanka has completely collapsed. Angry crowds are now chasing and killing wealthy people as food and energy shortages hit. Over 200 are dead so far. Police are using live rounds as state of anarchy on one side and police state on another.
Didn't even know that.
Well, so that was actually on Twitter, and the very first response to that was, hi, I'm from Sri Lanka. While there is a lot of unrest happening, this particular video is not from our country, but the situation is the same. The people are not killing rich people. The unrest is directed at the government. Which I thought, brilliant. Thank you for weighing in. That's the great thing about Twitter. You get corrected pretty much instantly.
Interesting.
And in other news, Boris Johnson has resigned, but that's not that interesting, I suppose.
No.
We'll get into that and a whole lot more. Please like and subscribe, but above all else, please comment below. If you've got any questions for us, then comment below. I was hoping that we were going to be streaming today, but YouTube says no, apparently. 24 hours.
We had another podcast recorded, but
yes, we
no sound.
Yeah, we had an hour and 25-minute beast recorded on Monday, and I was just uploading it, and then I put it into the editing software, and I realised that there was no sound whatsoever. So complete waste of time, very frustrating, but you live and you learn, really. It's a very rookie mistake. We should have been checking to make sure that everything was working first, but there it is. So we obviously checked, we recorded, we did a little test. But yeah, all comments are very welcome and very helpful to us. So when we are live streaming, I am hoping to be able to answer questions on the fly. I'm not going to interrupt what we're saying just to answer questions, but we'll have a question and answer section at the end of the show. And if anything is pertinent to what we're talking about and adds value to the conversation, then we will mention it. But yeah, so comment below if you would, just to help us out with our brand new tiny little channel. But yeah, back to Sri Lanka. I mean, it's another country that is experiencing serious turmoil, food shortages, energy shortages. It's funny because now I'm actually looking at the news more, and obviously I don't go to the BBC for news. I'm going to certain sources. It's amazing how much is going on, and we have no idea.
I did hear that there was issues in Sri Lanka, but
yeah. I don't know about whether they have problems with their currency. I suppose everyone's got problems with their currency, but they have got food shortages, and that will move people to start rioting and killing people. But it is the politicians' fault, not the rich people. So there's always that blame game going on between rich people and politicians promising that they're going to take care of all the bad people for you. But it's not just the third world where this is going on. So there's a Dutch farmer protest. So I didn't know about this at all.
Yeah, I heard about it on the radio.
Yeah. So borders, ports, motorways, media companies, distribution centres, and now Groningen Airport blocked as the Dutch farmers take the fight to the government over green policies destroying business.
Oh, no, I didn't hear about it on the radio. I heard about it from Paul Joseph Watson.
I'm just wondering, have you pressed the button to switch to you once so far?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
And I forgot to introduce you. So I'm Ben Osborne, and you are
Lawrence
Button.
There we go.
And
Lawrence, I am Lawrence.
And we're the Crypto Twins. Yay!
And Adam Smith is here as well.
Yes, my little buddy Adam Smith. So which I got from donating to the Adam Smith Institute. Got my little bust.
So yeah, I heard about the Dutch protests, riots on a Paul Joseph Watson video, and yeah, apparently they want to cut nitrogen emissions by an insane amount, and the farmers are like walking cattle up towards government buildings, like in the city, and like threatening to slaughter them in the street and all this sort of stuff. And apparently one of the politicians said, unfortunately, some of you are no longer going to be able to do what you're doing, or something along those lines. Yeah.
Yeah, the problem is with green policies is that they cost a lot, and no one. You have to consider the economics of the situation. It's like whenever, oh, you're just obsessed with money. You can't talk about economics. We're trying to save the world. Well, actually, economics is very, very, very important, especially if you want to know whether or not these policies are going to have any effect and how much it's going to cost us and how much it's going to reduce our standard of living. Because I think most people, if they realize just what it will cost, will probably rather accept the terrible position of having to move their house once every 20 years if they want to live next to the seaside, because it's encroaching that tiny little amount every year. It's not worth it. The green policies.
People are going to find out what it entails pretty soon anyway.
Yes, exactly. I mean, this is it. That's what's going on in Holland. Is they're finding that green policies is massively destructive, and what that means is that it's putting up their costs of production, which is going to push up the cost of food, which is going to push up the cost of food to the customer, which means the consumer is going to have less to spend on other goods. It's massively damaging to the economy. Anything that's green that doesn't cost anything, people will do. Anything that's green that costs very little, people will do. But green policies that cost a fortune and destroy companies, that is what politicians have to enforce. You see, government, you only need government to enforce things that people don't want to do on their own. Because if people are happy to do something voluntarily, they will do it. The government is only needed when you're making someone do something against their will. Such simple things, but people don't quite realize, about the implications of these things. So yeah, but also,
it only takes a little bit of common sense to understand that the government have the use of force and rich people don't. So if you're wondering who's to blame, it's a simple and obvious answer.
Well, not necessarily, because the rich people use the government.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the government is the facilitator, because
exactly.
Without them, the rich people have no force.
Yeah. You give the government power, and then rich people buy that power. The problem is with giving the government power, not with the rich people buying that power. Incentives are always going to cause people to act a certain way.
People will always act in their own interest.
You need to change the incentive structure, not just, clench your fist and scream at the sky and say, human behavior, change, human nature, change. It's not going to happen. You need to change the incentive structure. But the thing that's interesting to me about this is, as I said, is that we're seeing a lot of problems from the third world, and now we're starting to see it is happening in the Western world. Although they're saying it's because of green policies, which is very vague. I mean, is that because they refuse to, frack for gas, or they've got lots of coal and they refuse to burn that. And instead they want to import it from another country, which is very green, isn't it? So, but just on this, you've got the German benchmark 1 year forward electricity contract surging to all-time highs above 340 per megawatt hour, 340 euros per megawatt hour, and I looked at the chart, it's up almost tenfold.
Yeah,
which is crazy. But then again, and I'm guessing it's because Germany have been in such a bad position, they have now resorted to burning coal for power. But how long that's going to take to come into effect, who knows? So you've got a massive spike in the cost of energy.
I wonder if that's wholesale. That's what the energy companies are paying. Because at my shop, I'm paying. Well, it's 44. No, I just signed a new contract. It's 40 or 41p per kilowatt hour times 1,000 is £400 per kilowatt hour. So I would imagine that would be a wholesale price.
Well, it says German 1 year forward baseload electricity. I don't know what baseload means per megawatt hour.
Baseload.
Yeah, so it's got to be the cost to the producer. So at current price levels, German manufacturing is going to crumble, was the end of that headline. So yeah, Germany, Holland, these are not third world countries by any stretch. I forget, is Germany like the third or second largest manufacturer or exporter in the world?
It's I think it's for sure 100% the biggest exporter in Europe. I think a couple of years ago they were overtaken by China, and I think they overtook America.
No, China's number one.
Yeah,
China's number one and has been for a long time.
I don't think it is for a long time.
Are you kidding? China?
Yeah, they export lots of little bits and bobs, but Germany is just chucking cars out left, right, and centre. And I mean, they obviously make a lot more than cars. Obviously, they've got Airbus as well. And German engineering is kind of second to none. So they're exporting all sorts of machinery. And I knew this. I used to work at a magazine that basically did interviews with manufacturing companies, and there was tons in Germany. They're still manufacturing so much stuff. We're doing nothing. America's doing nothing, but Germany's huge.
Well, no, I've just pulled it up.
Was I right?
Kind of. You said United States is doing nothing.
Oh, not nothing, but
yeah. So China is 28.7% of global manufacturing output. United States is 16.8 in second. Now, I think Germany was third, but now third spot is Japan with 7.5% of global manufacturing output, and Germany is 5.3% of global manufacturing output, with India in fifth and South Korea in sixth with 3%.
Samsung's huge.
Samsung.
We sold the E. Samsung, it's not just phones and TVs, they're doing washing machines and all sorts. So
what's interesting about this is it's kind of like, this is what the real list of the richest countries in the world are. It's China, United States, Japan, Germany, India, South Korea. Or it's not the way things are right now, but that's the way it's going to come out in the wash. Because Japan's having serious currency problems, but at the same time, if they're producing that much, it's like they will weather the storm. They're producing things of value, and therefore the money doesn't necessarily matter so much. But yeah, I mean,
what is it? I think the population of Japan is like half of America.
Yes, yeah, it's mental, even though it's so tiny.
Less than half. I think it's about 162 or something like that million.
Yeah, I think Tokyo's the most densely populated city in the world.
Yeah. God,
I'm going to have to keep Googling these things. So, we are in the top 10 of manufacturing countries.
Really?
Yeah. What do we make?
I don't know.
How can we be in the top 10? So, yeah, 1.8%. 1.8%, and we're in 9th position, just in front of Indonesia.
I mean, saying that, there is... down in St Albans, in fact, Porterswood, you know Porterswood? There's a place that does electronic components there. There's a place in Wellington City that does specialised cabling and stuff. So, and up north where the property's cheaper and so is the labour, there's still quite a few bits of manufacturing going on there, but nothing like it used to be. This country is just a dry husk of its former self, so...
Yeah, you've also got, I don't know how much this would mean on a global scale, but you've got Airbus in Stevenage. Yeah. GlaxoSmithKline in Stevenage. The company that made the Mars rover, whatever it's called, ExoMars or something. There's a lot going on. Yeah, I suppose we do make some stuff. We make bad vaccines, apparently. Oh my God, I just said the word. We don't get removed from YouTube, but
Just bleep it out.
The Astra, the AZ one, that didn't do so well. So yeah, it's lots of problems going on in the world. The Bank of England has called for enhanced crypto regulation. Enhanced crypto
Another
regulation.
hack at the shins.
Yeah, and they always use like these euphemisms, like enhanced crypto regulations. We need to tighten our grip on crypto. That was a really bad segue, and I'm still learning. So eventually, I'm going to do this in a great way. Like it's going to make sense. It's going to be easy segues. But the next conversation I've got I think is a great one. Former CEO, Google CEO Eric Schmidt is skeptical about the metaverse concept. And that I feel so validated because I'm very skeptical about the metaverse concept. And to have a smart person say that he is, I think, yeah, see?
Didn't Elon Musk touch on this like quite a while ago?
Did he?
Yeah, he said something like putting a TV on your face doesn't change the world. Something like that.
Eric Schmidt, who was CEO of Google, has declared that there is confusion about the concept of the metaverse and what it means for people. Schmidt stated that even with a company like the former Facebook pivoting its operations to occupy the metaverse market, there is still not a clear definition of the concept and how it will affect people's lives. And I agree. I feel like there's a lot more hype around it than what is. I think I don't know. So the metaverse. What is the metaverse? How would you describe it?
It's basically, I would describe it as an immersive internet, essentially. So basically, you put on a sort of augmented reality thing, and then you go in, and instead of going on a website to buy your shoes, you walk your little character into a shoe shop, and you can sort of pick things up and look over them and stuff like that, and you can interact with your friends more like that. It's just literally an augmented reality version of the internet.
Yes, you see, I think that augmented reality has a future, 100%. The metaverse that I've been like, what you constantly hear about is people buying land in the metaverse because it's going to go up in value because everyone's going to want this land. And I think that's probably true, but like, go on.
It's created land.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
You can just create more and more and more and more. It's unlimited land. Why would you buy any of it?
I thought I just silenced my phone, but apparently not. Yeah, that's. I mean, you've already got games where there's scarce resources, and like that. There's got to be a reason why people would buy land in that thing. Like they can't just go, oh, it's digital 3D land that you can walk all over in your VR goggles, so I must buy it before someone else buys it. There's got to be a reason why you want, because there's going to be lots of different companies. There's not going to be the metaverse, is there? Because no one's going to agree on what the metaverse is. This company's going to have their metaverse, and this company's going to have their metaverse, and they're going to say, okay, well, what we'll do is we'll just connect all of the metaverses together. But then I think you have a kind of a tragedy of the commons situation, where, I mean, it costs nothing to create this stuff, so you just create more of it, unless you want to, and I don't know. It's a very, with NFTs now. So NFTs are like, you can buy a unique digital token, and that can represent art or it can represent anything. But now they're making it so NFTs are, you can get paid dividends from your NFTs, or your NFT can basically be a key card that gets you into a chat room on the internet.
Yeah.
So
I personally think that I feel myself drawn away from the internet now. Like, I'm not as interested. I'd rather be. I feel like the internet should have been just a tool to enhance your life, not your life.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like there's kind of a trend in that direction. People they're not as interactive on social media. They're just sort of going about their daily business. More and more people just sort of deactivating it, or just like deleting the main app and keeping the chat app, just so that they can still interact with people directly. Yeah.
That is my sentiment exactly. It's like, what about reality? Like, what, everyone's going to stick on their VR goggles and they're going to be walking around, like, how could you, like, imagine you just went like, right, okay, I've got 10 grand, I'm going to go buy some land in the metaverse, and you go and buy this land, and then you're like, okay, I'm walking on it, like, I clicked a button and now I've got a house. Like, you're taking money out of the real world that's going to make a real difference in your life. And I think what people think is that it's going to become so immersive that, like, we're going to have these haptic suits, and it's going to become very, very real, and you can do things in the metaverse that you can't do in real life. But then who's going to make the food, and who's going to make the energy to do this? Who's going to make the computers? Who's going to make the VR goggles? Like, the value in what's going on in reality will go up, because people will value actually producing it less and wanting to go onto the metaverse and play with their digital doggy, and that's it. Like, I just think that you can't get away from the necessities of life. It kind of makes me think of investing in general, like, especially now that we have like currency issues. I was thinking, okay, no, it's a tangent. We've got to learn to suppress our tangent. Shall I make a note?
I was
hold on. Are you going off on a tangent?
No, it was related.
Okay,
but unfortunately,
I've knocked out your head.
Yes.
I just knocked out what I was gonna write down. Oh God. But yeah, no, the metaverse, that's what we're trying to talk about without going on to everything else.
Of course, yeah. So I can never really see I'm not an early adopter type.
No.
I can never see the benefit until it's sort of staring me in the face. So, there may be some value to it, but just the thought of it to me just does not interest me whatsoever.
No.
There's no interest in me at all.
It's a case of, not only do I don't want it to succeed.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
It sounds very depressing and dystopian. You know, everyone's just connected up to computers like it's the Matrix. Like, that's what it seems like. You're gonna have these mega corporations that produce everything with the robots, because everyone's voted for politicians to put the minimum wage up to like $50 an hour, and now companies can't hire anyone, so they get loads of robots to build everything, and they make all the electricity, and they make all the food and stuff, and then like we're in these haptic suits with our VR goggles, and like we're doing stuff on that game to like create value and energy, which then are given back to these corporations, and it literally becomes like the Matrix, except with really bad graphics.
Kind of reminds me a little bit of two things. One, I tried to get into Black Mirror at one point. It's very, very strange, and I remember this one episode. They're living in some sort of like living facility, and they are like, they go on exercise. They earn points by going on exercise bikes, and the exercise bikes are like making energy for the grid or whatever. But it also reminds me of WALL-E. Have you ever seen WALL-E?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're all on the ship, and their experiences are through virtual reality, and all these just giant fat slobs, and they're just laying around on like floating chairs that just sort of buzz them around. They can't even walk anymore. Yeah, and they're just like stuffing themselves and just VR goggling everything. And I know what you mean.
So yeah, so it's just a sad world. I don't want us to get to that. As you said, I want technology to help enhance our real experience, not to take us away from our real experience. And that's why I think, augmented reality is great. And I'd like to see, I bet there's been a lot of developments in that, and just the market tends to give people what they want and not what they don't want. And I think a lot of people don't want that, the metaverse. And I think that it's the same as like the Google glasses. Like, companies can propose, but the public disposes. What's that phrase from? Who proposes and who disposes? I've heard that. You've never heard
New
that
one
before?
to me.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it's like in the free market, companies propose and the public disposes. So like Apple, like we think people are going to like flat phones with no buttons, and everyone's like, "You're crazy, you're crazy." Oh my God, I love my phone. And then like you've got Google, like, yeah, we think people are going to want to be recorded by geeks with glasses on, and we're like, no, actually, we don't want that. And that's the thing. One of the trends that I've found over the past, just especially getting into economics and market theory and all that sort of stuff. It's like there's a lot of things that we're scared of, but the market generally, in the end, gives people what they want, not what they don't want. So one of the popular beliefs is that we're not going to have any privacy in the future. And this is one thing that Joe Rogan keeps saying, is like, we're not going to have any privacy, because like we've got all this technology, and we've got a microphone here. I've got a microphone here, got a microphone here, there, cameras everywhere. I've got 25 cameras everywhere. And therefore we're not going to have privacy. When in my opinion, people value privacy, and therefore solutions are going to be proposed and the public will dispose. So like the public will buy privacy enhancing devices. I mean, for example, like Facebook, they've got this thing, I can't remember what it's called. It goes in your living room, it goes on your TV, and it means that you can like FaceTime with the whole room, and it's really good. It zooms in, zooms out, but it's got a catch to just flip over the camera. They know that people want that. It's very interesting.
You'd be surprised how many people come into my shop and they've got something just stuck over like a little bit of blue tack or something stuck over the front of the selfie camera.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, you could actually make a case that's just like a regular case that covers the camera and pops over the front-facing camera and just leaves the ear speaker and proxy sensor exposed for phone calls and stuff. And then you could just pop it open if you want to use it and pop it back closed again. That would actually be a really good idea.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have said that on air. I should have developed it myself.
But yeah, I mean, that's a perfect example. When people are having to like just bodge their own solution to something in the market, you know, there's a
demand.
There's a demand. And it doesn't necessarily mean a demand for a product. Like, what you need to understand is that is privacy is what people want. And therefore, I think, and we are seeing signs of it, but of course, what the corporations want is that they want to know, you know, when you go to the loo, when you go to sleep, when you burp.
You would not believe the data that your phone is collecting on you.
I know.
It's insane. Like, it knows just from your movements and stuff like that. It knows if you're driving, if you're walking.
Yeah.
Like,
it knows an
a flight of stairs,
unbelievable
stuff like that. But I was also thinking that maybe this augmented reality situation, maybe they're presenting it because costs are just going to continue to go up and people can barely afford to live. And they will find a solution where people can live in their pods and eat bugs, and then they get into their augmented reality and they can have the fake happiness that they need to keep working and producing. That sounds very dystopian. But yeah, it makes me think of that Stefan Molyneux. Remember the first ever video we ever found of Stefan Molyneux? It was like
God, you love a bit of Stefan Molyneux.
I do, I'm a big fan. The story of your enslavement, that's it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I vaguely remember that. I'm blanking. What's wrong? I know what's wrong. I've just had I've had some garlic bread, and the wheat is messing with me. I'm not even kidding. I think that's what's happened. What were you just saying
about the cameras that like cases that go over, or about the augmented reality?
Yeah. Well, I was thinking more about the cases,
Yeah.
and the demand for the for privacy.
Yeah.
I think that that's what I was going to say. The corporations don't want your privacy, but you do, and so we've got lots of products that are taking away our privacy, and they're hinting at like, oh look, you can do this and to try and improve your privacy. But I think that as time goes on in this world where we're basically being surveilled constantly, and the more adverts start popping up when you just talk about, I was talking about Freddos I rang Claire, and I was talking about Freddos over the phone, and I got a Freddo advert on Instagram.
I mean, that's pretty undeniable.
It's ridiculous. I'm a
insane.
35-year-old man, and I got an advert for, like, I never talk about...
You're not Googling Freddos, are you?
No, I didn't Google it at all. Yeah, I was on the phone because Chester wanted some Freddo treasures. So yeah, and then I've got adverts. The more stuff like this goes on, I think the more people are going to say, I want privacy. The thing is that I don't actually mind being targeted for ads. Like, I don't mind.
Yeah, especially when they are relevant. They're super relevant.
So, yeah, relevant, and like what I've been searching for. It's like, especially if I've been going onto a website. What I don't like is when the microphone has been listening to me when it should not be listening to me. It's undeniable. It's not like something that when I say undeniable, it is easy to deny. It's plausible deniability, but it happens again and again and again, and it keeps happening to a lot of people. And it's like I'm certain that that's what's going on. Anyway, I think that the market will eventually demand privacy, and I think the market, I think the idea of metaverse taking away more of my time.
But then you do also get politicians that like to overpower the market with mandates and edicts. So if you don't want privacy anymore, and then one of their big donors comes up to them and says, we're actually losing a lot of revenue because of this situation, and then the government comes along and blows something up, blames it on a domestic T-word, and then next thing you know, you've got a domestic T-word bill which gives them access to any camera anytime, and then your privacy's gone again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's slightly different. Like, that they would be making the case for, like, like the government or the police having access to cameras and microphones and stuff, but then to say, okay, yeah, we're gonna let Facebook track everything. That's another thing. But
the market wins in the end.
I think so. And even with like politicians putting through bills that go against what the public wants, I think that even that in the end will be overcome. It depends on the demand, like the severity of the demand, and I think the severity of the demand for privacy is going to go up in the future. It just think about that. Joe Rogan, he said it many times over the years. There will be no privacy in the future. I think what he's actually referring to is like technologies where it's going to be like you're going to read minds and stuff. But again, like, those technologies are going to be created by companies unless we're going to go into a world where we are forced to wear certain technologies. Then it's going to be products that are provided by private companies, in which case people are going to say, like, I'd like to be able to keep my thoughts to myself. Is that all right? Like, and they're not going to buy a company that says, no, we're going to read your thoughts and we're going to telegraph your thoughts. And then I suppose it becomes like, is that going to get hacked? Are you going to have your brain interface hacked?
I do always think about like, I'm just thinking about phones constantly because that's what I do, and thinking about how Apple like to basically, with each iOS, they bring up things that will just make your device slower, and just things just not look great.
Programmed obsolescence.
Yeah, and I remember when I went and I fixed an iPhone 4 for someone, and it was only a couple of years old at the time, but it was like still considered old. But it had been sitting in a drawer and it hadn't been updated, and it was so fast, and the camera looked absolutely amazing.
Sorry, what model did you say it was?
iPhone 4.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds about right.
And it just makes me think that will someone at some point be able to hack it and build an operating system on top of it so you can actually continue to use your phone indefinitely?
Yeah, well, that's I think something that should be done. 100%, yeah.
I mean, and I always think about Linux as well. Like, you've got Linux sitting there. Why haven't people built on Linux?
Yeah, something that can go onto an iPhone.
Yeah, not even just on an iPhone, onto anything. I'd rather be using Linux than Windows. I mean, Windows is better than Apple-ish, actually. They're probably about the same, but...
iOS.
Yeah.
Yeah, why do you say that? You can use you can use Linux as opposed to iOS. Well,
I don't know how to use it.
As opposed to Windows.
I don't know how to use it, and this is the thing. It's like, but how many programs and apps and stuff like? So, could you do all of this stuff on Linux?
I guess so.
You guess so. Do you know so?
I have no idea.
Did you see a Linux?
I didn't look for it.
No, but like, build on Linux. Just keep doing it. Integrate it with blockchain.
No, Linux build on iPhone, so that we can do away with this programmed obsolescence, and you can just change your battery every couple of years, and that way you can.
Yeah, and you break your camera, you break your screen, you can change all that. Housing gets a bit hammered, like you can change all of those bits and bobs. That'd be awesome.
So yeah, just an interesting end to the metaverse conversation.
Yeah.
Meta is to slow hiring in 2022. Hints at layoffs after metaverse pivot. So, and I think they have actually let go of like 100 people or something like that. So yeah, metaverse. I mean, they can't even say what it is yet, and yet they've changed their name, and it kind of makes me feel like they're just hyping. They're just pumping themselves up, because we still, like, if they had a viable business model, we would know what metaverse is about. And he recently said that he thinks that there'll be like 7 billion people on metaverse.
I think these layoffs are sort of correlated with Zuckerberg coming to the realization that not everyone is as much of a geek as he is.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, maybe there isn't going to be 7 people on Metaverse.
Yeah, so it's just funny because Eric Schmidt's like talking smack about it, and then
Is he talking Schmidt?
Yeah, he's talking a load of Schmidt. Yeah, and now, you know, Zuckerberg's letting people go. So very interesting. Right, so let's learn in real time. So I've got Bank of England calls for enhanced crypto regulation. That should have been cut from there, and it should have been put down here somewhere, like next to this story, where it says announcement from the U.S. Office of Government, the U.S. Office of Government Ethics. Government employees who hold cryptocurrencies are disqualified from working on any crypto-related policy or regulation that could impact the value of their holdings. Now, imagine they turned around and they said, women are not allowed to, they're not allowed to work on any policy related to abortion because
it might benefit them.
They're too invested. Like, women, you don't have a say. Like, that's what this is about. Like, it's not, because obviously we're not talking about gender. I just thought it was really interesting that people in the government, they can't make the rules about themselves. Only people that aren't affected can make rules for other people.
Yeah.
It's not right. So we've got to send all of them crypto. Then they can't make any rules.
Make a wallet in their name, send them crypto. Yeah.
And then when they make a rule, and then they'll try to nab you and send you a fine, or the SEC sends you a.
There's nothing you can do. They change the rules.
Yeah, and then you just go When this rule was made, this politician all had cryptocurrencies because I sent it to them. So this rule is not valid. This law is not valid. But yeah, very interesting. It's a big story at the moment that I think we've done it. I feel like we've done it to death, but that's because of our podcast that we did last week where we harped on it and then didn't have any sound.
I can't even remember.
But the amount of it's like, it's not big news. It's just these little news stories that keep coming out every single day.
Oh, yes.
About governments increasing their restrictions on crypto, making it more and more useless. So yeah, maybe we've harped on that too much.
One thing I would say about that is that I think that when you look at every regulation that comes in, it's only so that they can take their cut. They can take their pound of flesh. It's all about the taxes, the KYC, this, that, and the other.
I disagree. Not in the case of something that affects their serious baby. I mean, the most important thing to them.
Money itself.
Money itself, yeah. The one thing that we're not allowed to think about, we're not allowed to question, we're not allowed to learn about. They won't
teach you about.
Yeah. Is their power to create money. And that's why I think crypto's different. And I almost feel like that's why they're so like, oh yeah, crypto. When in reality, they're like, this is our biggest enemy, is crypto. You know, so that's why they attack it. So
they can't create gold either. They're not alchemists.
Yeah. Well, I mean, gold is well, actually, this made me think about, you know, so God, I'm so messy. So investing in farming rather than anything else to preserve value, right? So right now in this situation in the economy, we are looking at potentially inflation or deflation, which means potentially prices are going to carry on rising, or we could have a deflationary recession in which prices come down sharply and the value of the dollar goes up. So you have a one or the other issue. What's up?
Like, I'm so tired that my eyes feel weird.
All right. So yeah, we've got a one or the other issue of like, are we going to have deflation or are we going to have inflation? And so where do you put your money to make sure that you preserve your purchasing power no matter what happens? Because you could say, okay, well, I'm going to buy the dollar and then that inflates, or you could say, oh, I'm going to buy an inflation hedge like, you know, gold or Bitcoin, or if you can call Bitcoin an inflation hedge, but anything like that, and then it deflates and you lose value. So I was thinking, what is the one thing?
Deflate would increase value, wouldn't it?
Increase the value of the dollar, but not the asset.
Oh, I see.
You may preserve your purchasing power, but I was thinking, what is the one thing that if you're facing either one of these situations, and it might just be, the answer that I came up with might just be the situation that we have right now, but I thought like food, farming, and investments around that. If we have
energy.
If we have deflation, they will perform the best. If we have inflation, they are a commodity and they will perform very well. So it's the only thing that will perform very well over the next one. Yeah. Very interesting, that.
Is that a segue into Trader Joe farming?
No, not that kind of farming. I'm talking about real farming.
Yeah, agri-business.
Yeah, but it's like that. Even then, you're kind of like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just too much of a conspiracy theorist, because I always feel like there's an issue with any investment I do. Like there's always a reason why I think that it's not going to do well. And we've had this massive rise in wheat, and everyone's been scared that,
and corn, everything.
Yeah, lots of different things, but wheat is the one thing, because Russia manufactures wheat. They were the largest exporter in the world of wheat, and Ukraine was the fifth largest exporter in the world. But also that the
plus the
fertilizer shortages and stuff. So there's been a lot of people predicting that there will be food shortages towards the end of the year, and it's kind of like wheat's gone up a lot, and I don't. I mean, this is actually quite a deep conspiracy, but like recently on farmland, all I have seen is wheat. I haven't seen anything else but wheat. And so it kind of makes me think everyone's expecting this massive shortage of wheat, but we've kind of got this, I don't know, maybe a strategic thing. Like they've said to all farmers, or, you know.
So you're talking in the UK?
Yeah. Yeah, so this is
the tiny little island.
Yeah,
that's going to save the world from its wheat problem.
No, but I'm just talking about the UK.
Yeah,
but who knows? But it seems like there's a lot of wheat being produced here, and I just kind of feel like it could be a bit of a head fake. Like everyone's expecting this massive spike and shortage in wheat, when actually it's being produced quite abundantly. Maybe. I don't know.
I doubt it.
This is what I've seen with my own eyes, so I take that for what it's worth, which again is nothing. But I cycle a lot around where I live, and I've seen just wheat everywhere, and it looks good. It looks like it's maturing now. It's good. It's ready for
harvest.
Yeah. So,
well, I think it's Africa that is going to suffer the most.
Yeah.
Poorest continent. And
third world countries in general.
As far as I'm aware, the biggest supplier of the continent of Africa is Ukraine.
Really?
I think so, yeah.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because talking about another third world country's inflation problem, report. Nigerian central bank incentive scheme failed to halt Naira depreciation. I guess that's their currency. So yet another... I don't know if you could call it
depreciation.
Depreciation, yeah. So
you mentioned a minute ago whether people are wondering if there's going to be inflation or deflation. Do you not think it's going to be both? One after the other, maybe one after the other, after the other.
Yeah, I think it's always going to be inflation in the end.
Yeah.
Are we going to have crippling sharp deflation in the meantime?
Yeah.
That's the question. So yeah, but here's another central bank whose currency has devalued, and it makes me think how many of them are going to. I hope the trend.
Their currency is devalued or their economy's devalued.
Well, it says to halt the Naira depreciation, which I'm guessing is their
depreciation. I think it's deflation. So yeah.
Depreciation, which I guess is their currency.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it just if the trend of like countries adding Bitcoin as a means of payment continues, it makes it more politically difficult for the Federal Reserve or the Bank of England or the British government or the American government to attack or ban Bitcoin. And so that's another thing that El Salvador made it legal tender. So if it's legal tender in a country and they let's say the British government or the American government, two countries that absolutely love their central banks, say you can't use crypto, what does that say to El Salvador? It's almost like an act of war.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're too far from your mic.
Sorry.
So yeah, it's that's what I'm saying. If these countries, again, this was just an epic conversation we had in the last podcast, but I think I'm going to save it for another one because I think we could tell it better if we tell it again. But that's the conversation was about how crypto can be stopped by governments. What are the attack vectors, and what what can we do to prevent it from being stopped? Was the conversation we had. But yeah, this is one of the things. If there's too many people using it, and it's too politically inexpedient for them to ban it, then it's going to have to survive. And the longer they think about it, and what do we do? What do we do? And the more it grows, grows. Hopefully, it'll become too big for them to stop. Currently, I think it is not too big for them to stop. So, and I think you agree, don't you? Yeah.
We also agreed that there will come a point where it's too big for them to stop, and will they let them get to it?
Yeah. And some people believe that we have already got there. Personally,
who was it? Voorhees.
Eric Voorhees, yeah. And he said it many times, and I've questioned him many times, and I've never had. It's more like a hope. It's too big to fail now. It can't fail. Bitcoin's here to stay. No one can do anything about it. I'm not so sure. So I think that we are not out of the woods. We have to carry on skulking around and playing with our magic internet money before we come out into the open and tell the world. Yeah, I think we are still at risk. And it's like, not, are we still at risk? Is government just, before we even get to that point, are they just going to keep bringing out these regulations and rules and making it more difficult to use? And we never get there. It just fizzles out.
I wonder if there'll ever be some sort of crypto false flag.
Yeah.
Some sort of massive hack, someone important loses everything, and then they've got to ban it or something or other like that.
I'm just going to mention this quickly because I know you've got to go. But Peter Schiff, his bank. So Peter Schiff, for anyone listening, he's a notorious gold investor. And he's also a notorious Bitcoin skeptic. So it's very interesting because most of the people that got into Bitcoin in the beginning were from the gold and silver community, and Peter Schiff was huge in the gold and silver community. And he's like all of our, he's like our dad, telling us that we're too young and you can't use this, isn't real, blah, blah, blah. But and who knows? He might be right. I still listen to him all the time, just to keep me sharp, just to keep me questioning myself. Don't get too confident about what I think. But so yeah, Puerto Rico's regulator suspends Peter Schiff's bank. So Euro-Pacific Bank, owned by notorious Bitcoin skeptic and gold bug Peter Schiff, has been suspended by the Office of the Commissioner of Financial Institutions of Puerto Rico, also known as Oficina del Comisionado de Instituciones Financieras. So yeah, insisting that there was no evidence of crime at the bank. Peter Schiff tweeted Sunday, "The IRS and J5 targeted my bank due to my outspoken criticism of excessive government taxation and regulation. Their illegal efforts to punish free speech, deprive me of property without due process, and needlessly put thousands of customers at risk, actually justifies my criticism." So, and I wholeheartedly agree. The sad thing about this is that lots of Bitcoin people are jumping on the bandwagon, going, "Oh, you see, this wouldn't have happened if you had Bitcoin." And I just think, so weak, man. He's being abused by the government.
And you realise that whenever these things happen, both sides, the gold side and the crypto side, they always make such poor arguments.
Yes,
they could make much better arguments, but it's like they go for the low hanging fruit that's no good.
Yeah. But it's just sad to see, because Peter Schiff is very much associated with Bitcoin, even though he hates it. He's part of the Bitcoin community. It's very, very weird situation. His son is a very outspoken fan of Bitcoin, Spencer Schiff, and they're often arguing between themselves on Twitter, which is hilarious sometimes. But it's like young techno frenzy sort of guy, like investing. He won't even, like, they've had arguments about how he won't even buy a sofa because he doesn't want to spend his Bitcoin to buy a sofa, like sell his Bitcoin to buy a sofa. And he's like, get a sofa. Like, it's old wisdom versus like the young, the upcoming young guy. But it's like, I just think I don't think it's great. The people in Bitcoin and in crypto, they show very poor form in attacking him and making fun of him when, like,
he's one of you. All he wants is financial freedom.
Yeah.
So
he is one of us. I mean, at the end of the day, gold bugs and Bitcoin and crypto people, apart from all the new people in crypto who just want to buy it and get rich, they don't. They're not thinking about the freedom of money and the censorship resistance of Bitcoin. But yeah, at the end of the day, the gold bugs and the Bitcoin people, they all want the same thing, and that's freedom in money, a deflationary currency that just slowly goes up in value over time, something you can actually store your wealth in. So
I was going to say about Spencer Schiff, like, this is the kind of thing that I'm talking about, where you kind of, you have these people who've got to kind of check themselves. It's like, what's he sitting on? Mm-hmm. Oh, he's got all this crypto in the bank, but he's not comfortable.
Yeah, on a sofa.
Just think about it. Just use your brain a bit.
I
mean, he's Peter Schiff's son. He's got to have a ton of it. How much is the sofa?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's really, and the thing is how much money has he lost in the last, I bet he's wishing, people should just be more, have a bit more humility. I mean, I'm always trying to check myself and make sure that I'm not getting too confident in my thinking. I think I'm the only person I know in crypto that continues to listen to Peter Schiff, especially about what he says about Bitcoin. Because the thing is that I think if I was talking to you right now, I could beat you in this argument, because I just don't think he's got the greatest arguments. I think I could make his arguments better than him if I could speak properly.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe one day. Who knows? I don't think he wants to come to this country. But yeah. Anyways, I think we're going to call it a day because Lawrence is tired. So yeah, please like and subscribe, and leave a comment below if you've got any questions about the things we've been talking about on the show. I'm more than happy to answer them.
Hit the bell.
Or even if you just want to make fun of me, just make fun of me in the comments. We need some comments. So thank you very much. And yeah, we'll see you on Monday if we don't mess up the sound. Bye-bye.
Bye.